Hello, I'm actor-singer Matt Wiggins from Los Angeles, California, right here with Chris from Hellblazer Biz. And we're going to have our interview, and I'm excited to be here.
Everyone, I have the awesome pleasure of the company of actor and singer and former Navy veteran, so thanks for your service on that one, Matt. Matt Wiggins.
Yeah.
Bringing you on from Elkhorn is where you've caught my eye.
Yes, sir.
And obviously since then I've checked on your social media, and obviously I'm completely eye-opening to find out. And not just that either, I had people like Ashton Selecki go, you do realise he's a bona fide rock star.
Yeah, well, you know.
They're all pretty much in awe of you, your fellow cast members, for that one.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, Matt, nice to meet you. Thank you for coming onto the show. I really appreciate
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. So you play William or Bill Merrifield, who is one of Roosevelt's friends and like a I'd say father figure according to some of the writings, but according to Mason, like a big brother.
Yeah, he is more like, in my opinion, he'd be more like a big brother, where Sewell would be, I think, a little bit more like, that kind of father figure.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so he's quite good in that respect as well. So, first things first, we'll just throw you into it. How would you describe your character? How would you describe Bill in 3 words?
3 words. I would say wise, patient, and driven. So I think he's a wise guy. He's been around the block a few times. He's very driven in what he wants to do. He was from Canada. William Merrifield was originally from Canada, and then he came down to the United States and settled there in North Dakota, wanted to become a rancher and a cowboy. So very kind of an entrepreneurial, adventurous, spirited man. And so he started the working in cattle business there in North Dakota, and was an established guy when Teddy Roosevelt came out there to hunt. Was the first time I think that they actually met. They were out there. Teddy Roosevelt had come out on a hunt and fell in love with it, and then the two of them ended up partnering up. So he's very wise in his decisions. He's driven in what he wants to do, but he's very patient as well, I think. And I used a friend of mine a gentleman named Lynn Winkleman, who was my mentor out at a ranch called Wildwood Hills Ranch of Iowa, where I went and started working with horses years ago.
Okay.
And he is kind of that type of man, a very powerful man, but a very quiet, wise man. And so I kind of used him to model the character, as well as doing some historical research.
Fantastic. I did catch that about Bill. He is very silent. I've kind of likened him to like the Clint Eastwood, the quiet cowboy type. Very calculated. He knows everything that's going on. He's very, very wise, very clever. But he bides his time quite well.
He's got that quiet power, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He's very influential, but he's a quiet person, and he listens.
Yeah. He's got that, seems to have that respect from everybody as well, because I think it's a few times of some of the more the lesser pleasant characters. And they're you can tell there's a reverence, like a revered respect when Bill walks out there. You've got
yes.
Teddy Roosevelt was quite, because I think that's what Mason said as well. He's quite short. He said so. He's you got the empower. You got him being short, then you got Bill standing right behind you, big tall Bill and Sewell and everyone all around him.
Yeah, for sure.
Posse like that.
He's got his posse with him. Yeah.
Yeah. But I say Bill's, he's very quiet as the trench coat and everything, dust coat, or duster, isn't it? It's called.
Yeah.
Just standing there quietly, just taking all the scenes in and just watching it, seeing how Teddy goes along, I think, and stepping in just when it's needed.
Yeah, he's ready to jump in there on Teddy's behalf at any moment. But yeah, he's kind of a quiet protector. Even though it's kind of like a brother, a little more of a brother type relationship, I think he is there to help counsel Teddy when he needs it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
He's not just gonna interject. I think he's willing to let kind of Teddy Roosevelt take the reins and want to do what he wants to do. But I think if it came to it, then he's willing, obviously, to step in and help Teddy out and make sure that things are going down the right path.
Really nice summary of it, actually.
I love him.
Yeah,
I mean, I just like as soon as I read the script,
yeah.
I just fell in love with the character. So I was really excited when I finally got the opportunity and I got to go over to. I did my first audition here. After the pandemic stuff, most people started doing auditions at their home studios.
Yeah.
So sending in self tapes and stuff, and then I ended up getting called into Burbank to meet a couple of the people from the production and then casting and stuff like that. And I told them then that I just, whatever happens, happens. But I just that I was just absolutely in love with the character, and having the opportunity to go to set and be in something like this and play a character like William Merrifield is just a real joy.
Excellent. Kind of, what do you believe his character, Merrifield's greatest strengths are then, and weaknesses? We'll start with the strengths.
Well, I think his strengths are definitely his ability to be patient in situations versus a guy that's going to be, just interjecting all the time. I think that he's highly experienced in what he does. So, he's got product knowledge, if you want to call it that. So I think he's really is a go-to person, and he's a leader. I think that in the show, he's quiet, but I think it also demonstrates his leadership, and that he's a very reliable person, not only as a business person, but I think as a friend, because I think over the course of time, Teddy and as the show goes on, like, I'm not gonna give anything away, but in the story, but other people, if you know history a little bit, the two of them do get much closer than just business associates, and they stayed friends their entire life. So he's very committed person, and but a weakness I think that I see in him is, and I wouldn't necessarily call it a weakness, but it is it's a part of our human nature, and that is he does have a little bit of ego, and in the sense that when Bill Sewell comes into the picture, and I think that this is demonstrated very early on, where Merrifield had to kind of step back a little bit within himself and see what was going on the bigger picture, because there was a little jealousy there, I think, when he found out that, hey, this guy from the East Coast is coming out, maybe stepping in on my party, right? And the opportunity that I had to work directly with Roosevelt. And so there is that kind of that battle within him a couple of times throughout the show, where he is maybe a little bit jealous or a little bit fighting for that top slot, or the partner in the business, and where, like, even Sewell and I have the conversation, like, hey, he brought you out as a business guy, but I'm the partner. You know what I mean? So stay in your lane, kind of thing. And so I wouldn't necessarily say it's a weakness, but it is something that even me inside the character has battled. And some of that, a little bit of jealousy, maybe a little bit of ego, but then again, I mean, a lot of these guys, you're not going to get where you're going if you don't have a little bit of that. So,
especially down in that time as well, because, like I said, it wasn't called the Badlands for nothing, so you couldn't be a pushover. You needed to be able to assert yourself properly.
That's for sure. Yeah, and I don't, from a weakness perspective, genuinely, I see him as a very even keeled guy. One of those people that you just respect, and I think he's very honorable. Honor is a big thing for him. So it's difficult for me to come up with a weakness other than the fact that, I do feel, or the character feels some jealousy, some ego kind of creeping in. But, he's very good at recognizing that, and I think that that's obviously a big strength as well, as he's very in tune with his emotions.
Excellent, excellent. And how did you approach building chemistry with the other characters and work with maybe the director as well to shape and refine Bill's arc, should we say, as the show goes on?
Yeah. So one of the great things about this show too is everybody just meshed. You know what I mean? Like Mason and I immediately, the very first day of shooting, at the end of January of last year, Mason and I were the only two actors there on that particular day, on day one, and we were shooting basically the opening scene for the show. Of course, shooting, we jump all over the place, but that just on that particular day, we were shooting that scene where we were walking through town, and that's the first time Mason and I had really met outside of just the initial readings and stuff. So my chemistry with the other actors came along very naturally, and so our relationship was wonderful the entire time. And then for me personally, like I love taking direction, and I love getting direction. And so Michael and Jim, Michael the director, and Jim the director of photography, very early on we started talking about kind of the process of what would be happening and whatnot. And they, what I ended up finding out was they trusted my intuition on the character. So Michael would approach me if it was something that's very specific that he was looking for, and I love that kind of stuff. But for the most part, I have to be honest with you, when it came to character development, they pretty much just trusted me in what I was doing. And I think that maybe they had seen, in the auditions and stuff, the character was very solid with me from the very beginning, simply because of my own experiences with horses and ranching. And like I said, kind of utilizing my experiences with Lynn there at the ranch. And Lynn is a very similar character to William Merrifield in many, many ways. So I just went with my gut on this thing, and I'm hoping that obviously the network and Michael and Gary and Panini and whatnot, they trusted what I was doing and just basically encouraged me to just like keep doing what you're doing is basically what they said. So yeah.
Excellent. And how did you feel throughout? Obviously, because we're on to see episode 4. I've not seen 4 yet. I've seen the first 3. But so how did you kind of maintain the authenticity of the character throughout the whole performance as the show progresses? How did you feel? How did you keep his authenticity? I mean, you kind of touched on it with what how
So, are you talking in regards to keeping the character consistent through each episode?
Or and how and keeping him to himself, keeping to how he was, the mannerisms and keeping it all.
So for me, I personally, I like in my process, if I'm working on a project like this, especially when it's something that we're going to be working on for the better part of a year for the most part. And so my life is very eclectic. I have a lot of different things going on. So, but William never really left me at any point in time. So I would kind of like compartmentalize the character if I was not, like, say, if I'm on stage or I'm doing other things. I would kind of compartmentalize him, but I never really released him through that entire process. And even still today, I have a lot of him with me in what I'm doing. So for me, when I would get to set, I like to get there fairly early and kind of get into the mode. So I'd grab my sides and stuff, and then basically I kind of just take a walk around the whatever area we were in and start absorbing the atmosphere of the sets and that kind of stuff. And then just, get back into the dialogue and those kinds of things. But there was never a time where it was like, oh my gosh, my head's out of the game or what have you. I was very focused with him. So, as far as keeping the genuine nature of him throughout record or taping and stuff,
Yeah.
and filming, was not a difficult process. I mean, he was kind of always there with me. And
Hmm.
then, like I said, I do appreciate them giving me some private time, like when I needed to get away or whatever,
Yeah.
and just make sure that I was in the zone, as it were. Yeah.
Nice. Excellent. Nice. And how did you feel it differed from other roles you played before? Because I mean, the era is quite. It's very. I think it's a very brave thing as well with current all these different. Well, you got everything nowadays. Mostly it's remakes and copies and stuff, which really annoy me. To be fair,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
having something like Elkhorn is a really bold piece to go back into the westerns again, which they've never aged really, have they, over the decades?
No.
So yeah, how did that differ from previous roles then, when going back into the old western
Yeah.
style?
So a lot of my background is, I mean, I've played a lot of period characters, and not so much in film or television, but I really cut my teeth in doing classical theater,
Hmm.
Shakespeare back in Iowa. And so kind of always living back in the past, I guess, playing these old time characters, old time language and that kind of stuff. And so, but when it comes to film and television, this is definitely the most involved project that I've been in. I've gotten to do some very cool things, but this is the first kind of, like, let's say, like a national attention kind of thing, especially
Yeah.
in a lead role. Uh, and so, but I feel like my time in playing characters from the past and having been in a number of period pieces from a theatrical perspective really helped me get into this. But also, I have to say, like, it's cool to, like, if you're doing something in a contemporary show that's like set
Hmm.
in the 2000s or whatever, but to have the opportunity to literally, like, step back in time like this, and like when you're on the sets. And
Yeah.
one particular thing that happened, I was doing a scene, and we went into the saloon, and I was getting all my stuff on and all that kind of thing and preparing for the scene, and they were walking me out there, bringing me to the set, and we walked in to the saloon that the art department had, with the candles and the light, all this kind of stuff, and it was literally like one of those moments of magic, like, where my heart was just. It's like I didn't even have to think about that this was going to be that I'm acting in this scene.
Hmm.
It was like I was literally there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that kind of stuff really helps you, get into character and kind of lose yourself in the time. And I had another thing too, and I'm not trying to pigeonhole myself here, but I told people, I was like, you know what? And another thing for me, like, I love the Western era of
Hmm.
our history. Granted, it's been, kind of romanticized and whatnot, but I've always loved it ever since I've been a kid. And then, of course, my background in Winterset, I was born in the same town as John Wayne, so
Right.
there was always that kind of thing going on in town.
Hmm.
So having the opportunity to be not only in a period piece, but then in a Western particularly, it
Yeah.
was just like, I mean, what a privilege. And I told people, like, hey, if I get pigeonholed, right, as a guy that's in Westerns the rest of my career, and I can make money doing this and establish my reputation, I'd be perfectly fine. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
You get to keep your moustache as well.
Yeah, right. And I get to keep this cool mustache. So yeah. But anyway, yeah. So there was never any issue as far as, like, just losing yourself in the time, because
Hmm.
one, it's a place I've always wanted to be, and two, I felt natural. I mean, I felt like I was genuinely there the entire time we were on set. The cameras go away
Hmm.
when you're in the scene. It's like, this is really happening. It's may sound cliche, but it's a true thing when you're on a set like that, and you have the ability to just lose yourself in it. it's magic. It's like time travel.
Excellent. I've got to say as well, because when you do watch it as well, you see Bill's the characters you play. You just sort of you look perfectly melted. You do look perfectly natural, melted, and at home just hanging. I mean, all you do, everyone does, because that's the whole purpose of acting, is to make yourself look that. But there's, I think everyone on the set, you just fitted so perfectly well, and like you said before, you seem to gel so well, and I think that really comes through on screen as well.
Yeah.
Because we pick up on each other's nuances and everything. When you do get on like that and work on them as well, which is fantastic to see on a show like this.
Yeah, for sure. I think casting is a big part of the success of any show, and I think they nailed it on all these characters. I mean, everybody just did such a fantastic job, and that also helps. Your project is only as strong as your weakest actor. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like, and something that makes me nervous when I get involved in things is whether, especially when you get involved in like independent stuff, like say you got some friends or whatever that want to put a movie together, and it's like, that sounds like a fun thing, but I take what I do very, very seriously. And so it's always like, I personally, for sure, don't want to be the weakest link in anything I do. And so sometimes, you get to it, it's like feeling people out and how everything is going to gel. And on this thing, it's like, man, I mean, Mason and Eli and everybody was just so fantastic to work with. And so it was a real joy, kind of just losing ourselves in this amazing world. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. And now, obviously, is there anything that you'll be able to take away after playing Bill from personal development? Anything you'll learn from your journey as Bill?
Yes, because I'm a person that's, I'm a real I'm a perfectionist. I'm a very driven person. But I think Bill has also taught me a little bit about being okay, not being the I guess the guy that's always forward. You know what I mean? The guy that's always like in the spotlight, if you will. I'm not exactly sure how to term it, but he's taught me humility. He's a humble guy, and so and I think I remain, even with some of the things that I'm doing in both the acting world as well as music. You can kind of lose yourself in that kind of stuff, and it's important to stay grounded in who you are as a person. And I think that working as this character and being very grateful for the opportunities that I have, and just the nature of Bill being this humble, quiet, patient person has taught me to, instill some of those things in myself when I'm working with other people. There's 6 principles of horsemanship. Okay.
Right.
Concentration, consistency, repetition, ask often, expect little, reward liberally. So, like when you're training horses, and I was taught these things by my mentor, Lynn, I took a lot of those things and put them into how I was not only working with other cast members, because those things not only work with horses, I mean, it works with and yourself as well. You're asking often, expecting little, you're rewarding liberally. And so taking those principles and then applying them to William Merrifield kind of helped me reassess those things about my own life, things that helped me out in the past. So he's definitely been an influence on me, and hopefully we'll get to do it again.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
And so it's 10 episodes, isn't it, in season 1?
I'll never forget this character. Even if we were to, okay, season 1, it was great, and we move on or whatever. I will cherish the memories that I had with this show, and the show will live on, and the character will live on, and not only just on television, but with me as well.
Excellent. That's really nice to hear as well. It's lovely to hear that the show has been, meant that much to everybody, because everyone I've talked to from the shows very much felt the same kind of way. Jeff and Mason and I. Well, I spoke to Ashton once briefly about it because she couldn't give. That was before it was released, so she was like obviously had to be very coy about what was coming out. But the excitement from all of the people, it's been fantastic.
Yeah, I don't no matter how you size it up, I mean it's a very special project, and every time we got to go to set, you could just feel that I felt something special was going on.
Fantastic, excellent. And another thing with Matt, with yourself, it's not just the Elkhorn that drew my interest in this. When I started looking into research, and I've been sitting here and picturing you with all the face paint as well from your band Deep Within.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a pretty heavy band, and it's you're doing phenomenally well as well. I've just seen how many plays you're getting back on Spotify, and you're touring.
Yeah.
So how did you get into that? How's that going? I mean,
so yeah, I've always been kind of duplicitous when it comes to my the creative side to myself, and music has always been something like, I mean, I just get goosebumps right now thinking about it, because it's something that's been such a big part of my life. I started out as a percussionist in school. My father was a drummer in 60s rock bands.
Right.
And he had an affinity for all forms of music. Loved rock and roll, of course, but so I grew up loving like listening to Fleetwood Mac, listening to AC/DC, the Rolling Stones, all this kind of stuff. My dad was very much into music, but not just rock and stuff. He loved blues and jazz and all this. So it's always been a big part of my life. And then as a kid, as I was coming up, I was always dreaming about becoming all of these different things, and kind of living vicariously through entertainment. Movies and even politicians at the time and all that kind of stuff, just like fascinated with all these different worlds. So when I was in school and became a percussionist in like jazz band and those kinds of things, I had already started dreaming about wanting to be in a band, but it never happened for me during those years.
Right.
So when I was in the Navy, believe it or not, I was stationed with the F-18 Hornets up in Lemoore, California. I was the legal officer up there. And so I met some guys, and then we kind of started playing around a little bit with the band. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is something that I want to do this for real. Like, I don't want to just play around. So when I was back in Iowa, my story is long and crazy. I'm just going to do crib notes here. But back in Iowa, I got together with some guys when I was back there, and we started a little band called Mind Asylum, and we recorded an album. We started playing some shows, and man, I was completely hooked at that point. So when I jump forward many, many years, when I came out to LA, one of my goals was not only just obviously going after my theatrical stuff, but that I wanted to, get into a legitimate rock band or metal band, project out here in LA and go gusto. Like, I mean, take the gloves off. Let's really go for this thing, and have no boundaries whatsoever when it comes to limitations on what we're going to do. So, I auditioned for 3 great bands in LA, and they were very good bands, but they were a little bit more along the lines of, hey, we want you to sound like, go home and listen to this guy or this guy,
right?
And kind of recreating what's already been done. And I'm like, it's not for me, I want something where we can take the gloves off and try something, to be completely experimental. And so I got on a website called Bandmix, which is a website where you kind of go and you put your, area in, and you can associate with various artists and stuff that are kind of like mine, looking for projects or whatever. And there was this ad that said, like Deep Within, looking for the one or whatever.
Yeah.
So I ended up meeting these guys, and the original lineup has changed since I first met them, but 2020 is when the lineup that we've got now, like Jason, myself, Joe, and Cody, our drummer. And so we consider the band to be established in 2020 here in LA. And then we had been recording and that kind of stuff previously. The album was finished and then released in towards the end of February, early March timeframe.
Right.
But what's funny is we had put a single out, and then we had started kind of getting some traction on the local scene here. We opened up for Quiet Riot at the famous Whiskey A Go Go. We started doing some other shows with, we played with Edema, Afro Man, believe it or not, Crazy Town. We started doing some very, very interesting stuff and getting some attention. So then, lo and behold, we ended up getting management. Okay. And so shortly after that, we ended up getting signed by a label in Paris, near Paris or in France, a little boutique label. And then the album came out via the label at the end of in February. And I mean, what's going on is incredible and a blessing, because in a very short period of time, I mean, the album's only been out now for what, 3, 4 months or something like that, and here we are having come off of we had our first national tour with Edema, Smile Empty Soul, and great guys, and we traveled. I was like an 8,500-mile tour with them.
Oh, nice.
And then we ended up getting on tour with Max Cavalera, and his, and for people that may not be familiar with him, Sepultura. I mean, come on, iconic, Soulfly, Cavalera Conspiracy, and then his son Igor Amadeus, named after his uncle, Igor. They got a band together called Go Ahead and Die, and it's a new thrash band. And we got picked up to go out on tour with them, all on their West Coast dates, and then in their hometown of Phoenix. And it was, I mean, absolutely incredible. So things have really been going very, very well for the band, and we have a lot of big things coming. We got setting up another tour with an up and coming band here later this summer. And then, but our goal really is to get to you guys over there.
Oh, really? UK? Yeah, that'd be great.
UK, yeah, and Germany, UK, all those places over there. I think that we would do well, and I think the people over in Europe would really enjoy the music. What? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I think you're right. Especially in Germany, they're very much into that style.
Yeah, and it's the thing about it too is, like, we're a live band. Like, I mean, the album is. I mean, I obviously I love the album, and I love what's happening with the music from a recorded perspective. But like, we're a theatrical live band, and there are a lot of great bands. We've played with a lot of great bands, but I think one thing that bands are missing today is the show part, the performance part. Yeah. And I hate to use, Kiss as an example or those kinds of things. But I mean, when you look at a band like Kiss was, or Ghost now is another big one. These like larger than life shows with these characters on stage. And that's so when we first started, Deep Within, there was no makeup at first. And then I started, I was like, hey guys, I'd really like to play around with this idea. And they were like, okay, yeah, cool. So then I started wearing the makeup. And then my dream though was like I want to be in a band where it's a cast of characters up on stage, and then we can really build the show from that. And so everybody just, slowly but surely jumped on board. And so it's kind of culminated into where we are now, and it's like Katie bar the door. You know what I mean? We're this isn't a 75% effort. I mean, this is 150% effort, and we have. I think the trajectory that we're on, we have a very high likelihood of doing some pretty amazing things, and it's not because of anything we're doing. It's because people are grabbing on to the music, you know what I mean? Yeah. And when you listen to the album, it's a holistic album, but every song in there is its own narrative. It's its own story. And that's one thing when I started working with the guys on writing and that kind of stuff. Joe does a lot of our composition. At least he did on the last album, and he's working on some new material and stuff now. But we are also working together on, ideas with everybody having an equal say in what's happening from a music perspective. Then I do all the lyrical writing and or the kind of the stylistic stuff. And so one of the things that I said was, hey, I'm looking for a group of guys that are setting no limitations. Like, we don't have to sound just like these guys or these guys. Let's just organically let things happen and see and have every song be a little bit unique, but holistic in what we are as deep within. And I think the results are, like you said, you're seeing what's happening with Spotify and all. And these aren't gimmicks either. It's like, oh, you guys are probably just, you're buying this or you're buying that. It's like, no, we're not. And I'm
natural listeners.
I'm here to tell everyone right now, the success that's going on is one fan at a time. You know what I mean? It's word of mouth. It's people getting out there, people seeing us out on tour. And it's like, hey, if you have any question about, what we have to offer, come and see a show, check the album out. If you like it, great. If you don't, that's fine too. But it's been amazing.
Fantastic. It sounds great, and it really does. It sounds amazing journey to be on. And that's how I would love you to come to the UK.
So Chris, what's the most fascinating thing about it is that, and you also have to say that it's for a purpose, because what are the odds, that you would be doing this, like I get this show, the Elkhorn show. I'm going to set this back. Get out of the sun. That what are the odds that, we get this, I get this wonderful show, and then also literally at the same time, we have this, the band also doing all these wonderful things literally simultaneously. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The entertainment business is very, very difficult. To have any level of success, and success can come, it doesn't necessarily mean money. You know what I mean? You can be very successful, but you're maybe not making tons and tons of money yet. But so to be on the trajectory that I'm on personally, with having the opportunity to do this show, be an actor on Elkhorn, and then other things coming along in the theatrical area as well, but also then being in this up and coming metal band like this is just, mean, it is, to me, there's a higher level to it for sure.
Excellent. It's like you say, it's a really difficult industry. So it's really, it's like serendipitous for you to have all of this coming at you once, if that's the right word.
Yes.
I love how you said as well. Sorry, going right back, is how you started with your dad, because my dad was a minister of religion for United Reformed Church. But he was also a drummer. He was a semi-pro drummer, and he used to play jazz drums. So he's played at Ronnie Scott's. He played for Dudley Moore.
Wow.
He's played for Dave Brubeck. I've actually got a set of drumsticks because my dad passed away in 2009. So I've got a set of drumsticks from him, which Dave Brubeck gave to him, as well as his drum kit and stuff. So he used to do that. He was going to go to the States. He was offered a contract to come to the States and be a professional session drummer, but he just, I don't think he thought it'd be a bit too risky. So he stayed in the ministry and he used to go to the bands and play in the evenings. But he played at Footlights with Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie. I think he played for a couple of when the Monty Python guys were there and stuff. So he was in his band. So I was just thinking when you were saying that, I was thinking that's really similar, because that was in the 60s as well. So it's like, that's actually quite similar to my dad.
Very cool. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah. Was he on any recorded stuff? Like the record?
I don't think so. No, I don't think it was any sessions. More like he gigged. He had his own band. So he had his own little band going as well. So wow. But just now, I don't know if he was on any recorded stuff. I don't think so. I just know he got to play at Ronnie Scott's with his band. I think Dave, he stood in or played alongside Dave Brubeck at one point, which is one of his claims to fame, because he loved Dave Brubeck, which is classic.
Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. Yeah.
It just reminded me of that similarity. So as I draw this recording to a close, Matt, is there anything you'd like to say to people who are watching or listening to this show?
So yeah, Chris, first off, I want to say how much I appreciate you and Hellblazer Biz and what you do, and drawing attention to projects like this, and individuals like myself who are out here, slugging away and attempting to do things. So yeah, I want to extend a great appreciation to the fans of obviously the show, Elkhorn. I think it's doing very well, and like I said, hopefully we'll get to continue that journey together. And I also want to thank all the people really around the world that are supporting the band right now as well. And because it's only through people like people that are loving the television show, people that are loving the music, that make these things possible. Like as an entertainer, you can work as hard as you want, but really it's the magic of people connecting with you in some way that open up opportunities. And so it doesn't matter how successful, like I may become, or how successful other people are. In the end, it's really about the fans. It's really about people out there that take interest in these things. And like with Elkhorn, there's an appreciation from people on all sides, like the historical people, the Western people. So it's got a lot going for it. I just am very grateful and very humbled, and I feel very privileged to be able to do what I'm doing, and it's really all happening because of people like yourself and fans that are out there watching the show and listening to my music. So I'm very grateful and look forward to seeing what's coming in the future.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Matt.